All right. Welcome back to this week's episode of What's a Sitch podcast, hosted by me, Lo.
And me, Ken.
All right. So, Ken, start us off and tell me, what is your read of the week?
Okay.
Or should I say reads of the week?
Okay. Penelope Douglas has gotten me in a chokehold and her grip has not loosened. So last week I said that I was starting Kill Switch, okay? And I wasn't for sure,
yes.
I wasn't going to say anything because I didn't think I could ever like the trope because of the trope and the storyline that Damon, because if you read the first and second books, it's like, how can Damon ever recover? Oh no, honey. Did he recover? He is my favorite.
Yeah.
Damon.
I feel like that's everyone's, everything that I've seen about it, that is the way.
Not to give too much away, but in the first book, we find out that he got sent to prison for statutory rape. And then he ends up with the girl that he raped. That's why I was like, I don't think I'm going to like this. That's not good. But just wait. You have to read them. But I will say, Will's book, I think, is my favorite. I don't know. Damon or Will's is my favorite. Her writing dramatically improved, which I found out. So the last book that she had wrote in that series was in 2020. Her first book was in 2015. Corrupt was in 2015. So I understand why.
Oh, so that's a pretty big.
So I understand why the writing is different. But yeah, the thing about it too is what I'm excited because especially the very last book, it's like a epilogue novella. She has set up for the second generation perfectly. She has set the storylines up for the second gen perfectly.
Oh, we love that.
I know that there's going to be a second gen. There cannot be because she's already set it up. But yeah, and I love a good found family, but I will say though, I have lost lots of hours of sleep from Penelope Douglas the past 2 weeks. Her last book had over 700 pages, so that was a 20-hour book. I've lost a lot of hours of sleep.
Good Lord.
And Damon's.
And we thought Becca Mac was bad.
So this is Becca, it's like if Becca Mac had a dark side, a dark twin sister. Penelope Douglas is Becca Mac's dark twin sister.
Dark and twisty.
It's her dark and twisty side. But yeah, so and now I'm going back to Elsie Silver, so I'm going back to the wee woo books. I need the wee woo now. I've been in lots of dark romance.
We love a good wee woo book.
Yep, but that's all. That's all she wrote, folks.
Pretty simple, seeing as you haven't really moved on from where we were.
Yeah. Well, okay, their books are long. Her books are big.
Same series, just yeah. When you're reading 700 pages, well, you're listening to Penelope Douglas, aren't you? So I feel like you have to obviously have time to listen to it. Reading, I can read sometimes just randomly, throughout the day, or if I'm waiting in line somewhere, you can read a couple pages. Listening, especially a book like that, you really can't just whip that out in the middle of a restaurant. I guess you can, but don't think that's necessarily I think it'd be a little frowned upon in that aspect.
I would say, like I said, lots of hours of sleep loss.
Also, while we're on the topic,
linen.
Yes. While we're on the topic of second gens being set up and needing to happen, did I send you, or did you happen to see Becca Mack's post in her group, on her Facebook group?
Yes. Yes, we had a conversation about this.
I know you saw her Instagram story. I didn't know if you had seen that she had actually said that she had planned the entire second.
Yeah, I saw her comment saying that like that's not gonna be a no-go, like a crossover, because she already has a plan.
I know. I didn't know if you'd seen that or not. So I just need the fact that like there's still 3 books left to this series, and I need those books. And then like on top of that, can't wait for like the second gen of this. Like, and she's also working on her baseball series, which I don't think is up anymore, but I have read previously, which was also just as good. I don't think anyone will ever have me in a chokehold as much as what Carter Beckett does. However, was still pretty good.
Yeah. I'm a Garrett girl though.
I know you're a Garrett girl. I mean, I liked him. It's just not Carter Beckett. It's not Carter Beckett. Except for she has been on record saying that Jackson is her favorite, and I'm like, how? Yeah. How can he top the perfection that is Carter and Garrett? Like, and Adam. Like, we all know Adam's going to be perfect.
I'm so curious of what she has planned for him, because she has said that so many times. Like, and how she talks about Jackson and stuff. Yeah. I'm just like she has a girl crush on a character that she made up, and I'm like, okay, if this girl she created Carter Beckett, okay, so if the girl that created Carter Beckett is preferring this guy, like he has to be like god tier.
Yes, like you see Carter Beckett, Garrett, and Adam, and what she created, and her still saying that like he is her favorite of all of them. And Emmett, mm-hmm. Throw Emmett in there. Like, we don't see him all of the time, but like enough. Like, how I just can't imagine what can be of Jackson. I know that she said that she wanted a tattooed like hockey player, so basically she just created Jackson in the middle of the series for the heck of it. But I don't know how you can top what she has already created.
Lennon is going insane. Yeah, I
see now, Lennon, this is our time.
Now I'm gonna have to reread Becca Mack. No, I mean I get that itch. I get a monthly itch of just like, I need Becca Mack. I need her writing in my life.
I know they're so big too that it just like takes so much time, and then like you just get the like giddies, like like where you're twirling your hair, kicking your feet, like, oh, look at that.
Nothing makes me feel like a teenage girl than Becca Mack.
Well, I got the itch to do. Oh, yes, that is very accurate. Well, I got the itch to reread T.L. Swan's Miles Brothers series, which kind of reminds me of like what you were saying with Penelope. Was like, I forgot how much her writing improved just from book 1 to book 2, and like the difference in the writing style and just the like storytelling aspect. But also, like, I forgot how much I loved Tristan Miles and how much I loved seeing him with the 3 boys, and like their little family was just and like how he would always fight with Harry and just
I
perfection.
Love
so
Tristan in the 3rd book.
I'm getting giddy about it.
I love Tristan.
See, I haven't read the 3rd book yet, because when I originally read them, Tristan's book had just came out, and then like it happens sometimes where like I just kind of miss a release of a book, And then like next thing you know, you're 5 books behind and you're like, what just happened? So that's part of the reason why I'm rereading, is so I can get caught up, because she just released that novella that I told you about. So I'm so excited to see Tristan more. I think like I just love his personality. I can't wait to see him in the third one.
I've read the third one. I kind of forgot about that series because it was one of the first series that I've read. And so I need to read the fourth one and the novella. So maybe that's what I'll do after I finish Elsie Silver's, go back. I prefer, what's the first brother? What's his name?
Yeah.
What's the first brother's name? Jameson. I like Jameson's better than Tristan, but you really like Tristan's trope. So I think that's why. I don't know why, but for the third book, I just couldn't get into the couple. Like, I don't know what it is. I just could not do it. Like, the writing and everything was good. I just don't know if it was the trope or what. I just could not get into the couple. But I read it.
Yeah. It was there. Well, I think sometimes it's hard to get. I think when they do a single parent trope, it's hard to go to finish a series without something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? If that makes sense. Like I think it's a hard trope to kind of follow up, just because there's so many nuances. Like, you have all these extra characters that you get to know because you know the kids, and there's all those stories, and then it just kind of seems like there's not a lot going on without them. You know, like there's so many nuances with a single parent romance that you don't necessarily get in a non-single parent romance, like meeting the kids and having the kids have personalities that I think sometimes it just feels like you're missing something in the follow-ups. Maybe I'm wrong, because I like the single parent
maybe
trope.
That's what it is. And I don't know what the trope is for the fourth book. I don't know, but I'm going to have to read the fourth book to see if that's the case.
Yeah. Well, now that like that final like novella book extended epilogue kind of thing came out, I have to read them all so I can read about Tristan and Jameson and their happy ever after. So it's just got a lot to read in so little time.
You know what? Maybe this is the dark and twisty in me, but I want an extended epilogue to where a couple fights. Because it's always like rainbows and butterflies and unicorns. I'm like, give me a fight. Like, not like a big fight, like not like a serious fight, but like give me like an old married couple fight.
Well, yeah. Well, gonna preface this. I didn't read it, but didn't I'm blanking on the author's name, Garrett and Hannah.
You told me that Elle Kennedy. You told me that she did that, but I didn't read it because you have to buy it.
Elle Kennedy, yes.
And I just didn't.
And we ain't buying nothing. I use Kindle.
Well, I pay $16 a month for Audible.
I use Kindle Unlimited. We don't pirate books. Yes, we use Audible and Kindle Unlimited. We don't pirate books. I preface that. Like, we are purchasing books. We are just renting them. But when you spend...
I purchased the Addicted series books because they're not on Unlimited, and I had to finish.
Yes. Well, okay, what happened with that was, and this is how they get you, every now and then an author will make the first book free. Yeah. And so then you read it, because I will get like, oh, this is free. And I'm like, oh, that sounds fun. I'll buy it. I'll read it on a rainy day. And then you buy it, and then you're hooked, and you're like, well, I got to buy the whole series now. And of course, their series is what, like 20 books?
But it makes sense that it's like,
so,
sorry. It makes sense that it's 20 books though, because it's 2 authors. So think about, it's like double the writing time.
Yeah.
Which I don't know how
makes sense,
like they can write together,
so for Kennedy
because
and her,
I need to know, like, I want them to like dive in on like how they write together. Like, I have to know. Yeah.
have the dynamic. Like, do this one person just write part of it? Do they like have a
I
Google
don't know,
Doc?
because it flows so well.
Does one person write the main?
Yeah,
and then
I don't know. Like, I need to know.
Does one person maybe write it and then they do the second write? Let us know. But going back to the Elle Kennedy and her like little epilogue novella, I haven't read it, but spoilers that I saw on the internet said that Hannah and Garrett, right? I almost said Grant. I was like, oof. Hannah and Garrett fight, and then I was like, well, I don't want to purchase that. I don't want to read something with them fighting, especially if I spend my own money.
I do. Maybe that's just, like I said, it's a dark and twisty,
and not just like a little fight.
A dark and twisty little fight. Like, I want it.
Yeah.
Because it's realistic.
You are dark and twisty. I want rainbows and butterflies and marriage and kids and the whole kit and caboodle. Moving on to Landa Nanda. We're going to the Landa Nanda.
Get ready.
I can't do an Australian accent. The Australian Grand Prix,
everyone. Get ready to...
We're going to the Outback.
Give me a bloomin' onion.
I was going to say, give me a bloomin' onion. Oh no, it's Aussie cheese fries.
So get ready to have some jet lag.
Too bad we're going to be... I was going to say we should have Outback for dinner, but like, where are we going to get Outback out in the middle of the boon at Docks?
No, we can like pick it up. We can pick it up Saturday night.
But yes, jet lag.
We can literally pick it up Saturday night. We'll be in Florence.
I thought that was...
I think the concert's in Florence.
I don't know where we're going. Okay, so we might have to go to Outback.
Maybe we should do like a special podcast for the Australian Grand Prix. Like a bonus podcast. Like a maybe 10-minute.
We should do a watch along podcast.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean? Like watch it with us?
I think that would be awesome.
Yeah. I'm down.
And
I'll bring my mic in.
And you can give me a mic. And we can throw it back to like 2017 YouTube and have like a mukbang with some Outback.
An Outback mukbang. Maybe we should find some like Tim Tams and Vegemite and what else do they eat?
I don't know.
And have a little Australian. We're going to the Barbie. Getting the food on the Barbie.
I am not even going to attempt it.
I think I'd have a better Australian
I'm not even going to attempt it. All I know is I'm prepared to have some jet lag this weekend.
Bluey! I watched too much Bluey. Mom! Dad! Bingo! Bluey! I just sound British.
Yeah, I can't.
Going to the airport. No, it's not good. Anyways, the Australian Grand Prix this weekend. And for those of us living in the US of A, that means jet lag for all of us. So like, it's to the point where it's early enough in the middle of the night. So the race starts at 1 a.m. for us in Eastern Standard Time. 1 a.m. is like past my bedtime, pretty easily past my bedtime. However, it's still justifiable to be up on a weekend, but then you're just all confused. Like, I remember when we did it last year, we stayed up to actually watch the race live, and that Sunday, I was like, where am I? What time is it?
Jet lag. You have jet lag.
What happened? My whole schedule was thrown off. It was jet lag. Like, nothing is more weird than, like, me going to bed and just turning on something to relax and watch and seeing free practice 1 at, like, 9:30.
Yeah.
like on Thursday night.
It shouldn't be there. It shouldn't happen.
Like times. No, and it shouldn't be daylight there a whole day ahead. Like I understand time zones, but then again, I don't understand time zones. Like English and the European time zones don't mess with me too much because it's still somewhat of like the same daylight. Like Australia being like a whole like sun ahead just throws me. But
sorry, it just for some reason there was
excited
a lag.
to see Danny Rick back in the paddock. You're fine. I'll cut it out. So, but yes, Danny Rick back in the paddock for the first time this season, and I'm ready. I'm ready to see him back in his home. I'm ready to see him turn up to the paddock and just be so much better in a mental space. Like, I feel like everything I've seen, he's just been so much happier than what he was with McLaren the past 2 years that it makes not seeing him race worth it as a fan. Of like, he was in Vegas the other day, just like living his best life, and like he's just getting paid not to struggle in that McLaren car and not like be fighting for his life and doing 5 pit stops.
Yeah, I will say
props to you. Props to you.
You can definitely notice a difference with McLaren without Danny Rick. Like, first off, Lando's personality is like non-existent.
But neither of them have a personality. Like
Oscar's just stiff as a board.
I think Oscar is going to be a great driver. I think Oscar, like I saw somebody that said, I think it was a tweet that said like he has the personality of stale bread, and I was like, yes. Like nothing against the guy. Like if he doesn't want to be a personality figure, sure. But like when your act is like when you're put into the spotlight as somebody of McLaren who holds to high regards social media and fan engagement and marketing, and you just had one of the most, if not the most marketable driver who is from the same country as you, and you're following in that footsteps, like I think the like the juxtaposition of not having Daniel is making Oscar look worse personality.
And even the fact that like for him, like I get it's hard, but like, you know, he's coming from like a scandal anyways, and then like Danny Rick, everyone loved Danny Rick, so like everyone was pissed at like what McLaren did to Danny Rick. So like you have to like bring something to the table for, I think, almost for like marketing wise, if you think about it, and like PR, like you almost have to like make him bring something to the table for people to forget all that happened, and he can't. Like he just doesn't. And like I don't think necessarily he doesn't have a personality, but like for someone as big as Daniel, like, you know, in personality and over the top and stuff, when you have someone who's really not like that, on top of the scandal with Danny Rick, it's just it falls flat. And they're both, I mean, just watching them together is just like it kind of gives me secondhand embarrassment.
It pains me. Like seeing, like it just looks like they'd both rather not be there. And granted, like after the first race, when Lando pitted like 5 times, I wouldn't want to be there either. I'd be like, nope.
You know what it is?
Get me out of here.
So
but, like, it just seems like it seems like a chore.
So this is how I look at it. It's like, you know, it's when you have a breakup and then you get with someone to make the person jealous, and then now you're just stuck there and you realize what you have, but it's too late to turn back. You know, like it's just like you don't realize what you have until it's gone, and that's McLaren in the breakup phase, is that they're realizing, oh shit. But you know they did it. They did the damage. So now they just have to like, they really just kind of hone in and just kind of go with it. And instead of saying I fucked up, they have 2 drivers stiff as a board who hate their lives.
And like granted, I don't Like, McLaren made probably a good racing decision. Like, yeah, you're going to take a up-and-coming star and throw him in the car. Like, I get that. I get that Danny was underperforming. It's everything else that came with that is the issue. And, like, it's just, like, there was so much put on to the marketing of Standpoint, and we have all these sponsors, and look at all this money, and now it's like, well, your car still is not good. Your car has gotten worse as the years progressed. They just fired their, well, I don't know his actual title, but the technical manager. Like, so you're admitting that the cars you put out are not good when all last year you did was blame Daniel, when, like, it could have been, you know, Daniel's not extracting extra out of the car, but the car's not good. Like, their car last year wasn't good. It was middle of the pack, cool, no big issue. But, like, instead they used him as a scapegoat, and now they're still not good. Like, their car is maybe in the bottom half. You might give them a 4 or 5 if you're being generous, but, like, you see these other teams making leaps and bounds, and granted, you know, one of the teams is billionaire villain Lawrence Stroll, like, so he can spend whatever. I don't know what he's doing, but he's just spending all this money, but, like, it just always feels like McLaren is preparing for the future. And they're like, next season, or when we get our new wind tunnel, or when we get enough money back in the banks. And it's like, when are you going to take that step? And now you've already turned a good chunk of fans off of the way you did things, which that's your prerogative. But now you can't say, oh, we're this one big family, and that family, marketing the family aspect when you treated your family like dirt. Now, granted, that's probably how a lot of families act, but that's not a family I want to spend money on. So, if that's how you're going to do things, then just own up to it. Be a villain. Like, Alonso, you know, props to him. Don't care for his personality at all, but he knows he's the villain, and he's not shy about it. Like, if you're gonna be, like, cutthroat, be cutthroat. And don't market and advertise something else. Sorry, that was a long rant.
You use your rant of the week up in the sport.
Rant about McLaren, false advertisement. Rant of the week. So, anyways.
All I gotta say.
Back in the paddock, Red Bull's already hyping up.
So, all I gotta say is, if the mean girls are on the podium again this race, I'm just gonna shut the TV off and never watch a race the rest of the season. I cannot have another mean girls podium.
Like, it's Women's History Month. Why are we getting these podiums? We deserve better as women. Like, I can't. Oh. Like, well, I didn't deserve this. Give me a Lewis podium. Come on.
Anyone but the 3.
Yeah. I need a change. I need someone up there that I can root for. Which, granted, it ain't looking like Red Bull is, like, it's going to be that 3rd spot. I don't see anyone coming even close to Red Bull. Like, they're just so far ahead of everyone else. It's not, like, it's not even a fight. Like, the most juicy thing we got was them trying to fight each other.
I will say, it almost feels like watching Mercedes back in 2021 season. Like, where they just, like, it was just, like, over and over and over again. Like, there was no one could just touch them.
Yeah, it was like your top 2 was locked in, and you're just fighting
and so
for
like
the rest
the
and picking up
only for
scraps.
fans,
and like the only time someone else would win.
Like for fans, it's like the midfield's more interesting. And yeah, like you're the only time someone else would win if like they wrecked or something, you know?
Yeah. Or their engines blew up, or like, you know, that's yeah. It pretty much. So what year would that have been? I think the 2018 season was when Mercedes and Ferrari had their pretty close season. Because that was the season where, like, the first part of the season, like, I think wins were split between like Ricciardo, Hamilton, and Vettel, and then and then the kind of that changing of the guards slowly, like Red Bull kept getting stronger, or Max's car kept getting stronger, and now they've kind of caught up with the rest of the cars. But like that 20, what would that have been, like 13 to 2017, 2018 dominance, like watching, obviously wasn't an F1 fan then, but like watching old races, and I'm like, they're like almost like at some points like a full second ahead of everyone else. Like, so now unfortunately that gets to be Red Bull.
It's just so annoying.
So
but it's fine.
We'll just wait for Red Bull's dominance, but hey, my man gets to be back. So let his little Australian blood be free. So, and so moving on to the next sport of ours, the Bengals just keep signing people at the godliest late hours. So I don't know if you saw their last signing. They signed a tight end, Irv Smith Jr. yesterday.
I saw on Twitter.
It broke
this morning.
At like
I saw this morning when I woke up to it.
Like I woke up and I had an ESPN notification. The ESPN notification went out at like 1 a.m. Like I was asleep. But like, what in God green's earth is Duke Tobin and company doing, like negotiating? Like,
they're not sleeping.
I guess if you get close, you don't want to stop, but like he's not sleeping. He's just like, hey, while all these other teams sleep, I'm going to sign everybody.
Taylor Swift's Midnights era.
The fact that yes. He's like, look at me go. You're on your own, kid. I'm signing y'all.
Like, Karma's boyfriend. Karma's the Bengals.
Watch me work. But like, I don't feel like any other team has had the weirdest time signings. Like, a lot of the re-signings or like depth signings have been during the day, but like some like what is he doing? Like, I guess, you know, he's like, I'm gonna sleep until I get this done, and he means it. But like, also just imagine the insiders that get this news and then happen to like drop the like information at random hours. Like, how I just, it's so funny to me. But yes, so they got a new tight end. The draft's coming up, I think less than a month now. We're excited for the little Bengal babies.
Yep. Honestly, I will say nothing is more boring than watching a draft. And I know some people like will argue with me. Oh, it is so boring. And it's so awkward.
It's so boring. I think after round 1, they should just speed run it. Like, you have 30 seconds, go. Like, you just go with your gut and just make it chaos. You know, first round, you give them 1 round, but like 3 whole days of draft is just...
It needs to be like what I imagine like, Wall Street. Just I like feel for the papers everywhere, phone calls are ringing.
Yes. Yeah. Like number, like you get like, you have like an auction, like a boyfriend auction. Like, here's this, pick
the auctioneer. Just
bring in, and you just buzz in if you want.
Yes.
Yes. Like, I feel for the teams that like don't have a lot of picks, and you just have to turn in to all of that. But like, I will never forget one year it was what, 2 years ago or a year ago. I watched the NHL draft, stayed up on whatever night it was, and I was like, the Canes had like one of the later round picks because they make the playoffs, and I was like, I'm gonna watch it. They traded out of the first round and didn't make a pick, and I was like, you have got to be kidding me. I just sat through this entire thing for them not to even make a pick, and I was like, all right, it is what it is. So hopefully the Bengals don't do me like that.
I will say that last year's draft, I watched the entirety of. Okay. And honestly, the only thing that kept me awake was rating everyone's draft outfits.
Yes. They have some pretty good ones. They do a pretty good job. But then once you get to like day 2 and day 3, especially once you get to like day 3 and most of day 2, they're not even like, they're at home. They're not even there. So like, you're just watching people talk.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like a talk show.
So I said, like, sometimes it's awkward, especially
about what are they gonna do.
It's awkward, especially when you get to day 3, because it's like, like, it's just like, people are celebrating and like on this like camera, but you like, it's not like actually celebrating because like, you're third round, you're not like first round pick. No. So it's like, hey, good job. Like, it's just so awkward.
Which I guess like some of them know, but nothing is more. I get like secondhand embarrassment and like just like my stomach hurts for the draftees that like fall in the draft and you just like watch their face. Like they're expected to go first round and then they don't, and they've just sat there during the first day and they have to wait a whole nother day to figure it out. Like, it's just not. It's not fun. I need them to do a speed run. Give me speed dating for NFL. And so can't wait to see the Bengals team just keep on going. I feel like this offseason's flying by. Like, yes, the whole year is going by quick, but like before long it's going to be like summer workouts and OTAs and training camp before we know it. Like, I'm here for it. Give me Joe Burrow back in my life.
We need that.
The man that's like non-existent unless he pops up on the Today Show.
I was just like,
so random.
When I saw that,
I know it was for like a charity.
I know, but when I saw that, I was like, Joey B? What are you doing here?
Ariana, what are you doing here? That was what it was like seeing him. And like the Today Show making like thirst traps TikToks. I was like, oh, they know their audience, I guess. But so hopefully we keep getting some good news, because on our other favorite teams front, the Canes are not looking so hot without Andre Sitch.
Which is sad.
Granted, we knew this would happen, but which is very sad because, like, especially who's to say, like, if this had happened right before the trade deadline, they might have been a little more aggressive, which, like, I know people, you can't, like, you don't want to throw away the future because of an injury, but also, like, maybe they would have changed their kind of scouting and what they were looking for if they knew Sitch or one of their other top scorers was going to be out for the rest of the season. And just like, they're having a hard time scoring. And then just today's game was brutal. They've lost a good chunk of their last few games and just not scoring. And they just look discombobulated, which granted is going to happen without Sitch there. But Aho has turned on the superstar factor and is trying to drag this team on his back.
I haven't gotten a chance to watch a lot of the games this season just because of my living situation. But I get like I sign up for like Twitter notifications and everything for it, and it makes me so sad.
Yeah. It's been pretty chaotic. Like the past couple games, they go down by 2 and then they come back and take it to overtime. And today they just got beat bad. But like Rod Brindamore is just like mixing the forward lines, trying to will people to score. Which, granted, they played the Lightning and they played Vaskilis. I can't pronounce his name. Andrei Vasilevsky. That's how it's going to be pronounced. I apologize for my mispronunciation. But I mean, he's one of, if not the best goaltender in the NHL right now. So granted, you're going to have times like this, but just like the lack of scoring has been very noticeable. They're just not gelling, and he's trying to find something that works, and it's not there yet. So got a couple weeks to hopefully figure it out, but it's just like
they will.
It's a little bit harder of a pill to swallow. So hopefully they'll get it figured out. Another thing I hope gets figured out is NHL players and homophobia. We love.
Did you see? But the Kraken had their pride jerseys.
So. Oh, you want to know whose pride jerseys were? Chef's Kiss is gorgeous. They haven't worn them yet. They're wearing them, I think, sometime this week. Calgary Flames.
I haven't seen them.
I'm gonna have to find a picture of their pride jerseys. They are gorgeous. Like, to where I'm not a Calgary fan, but like I want to
honestly
buy this.
when you said whose jersey, I was not expecting you to say Calgary.
I like Calgary. You know, they're just kind of. I feel like they're just one of those teams that's just kind of like.
They're there.
Like they're a Canadian team, but like they're just there. You know, they kind of had a pretty good season last year, and they're there. And I like a lot of some of their players on the team. These jerseys, I love.
I'm pulling them up now. I like the Krakens, but I'm pulling it up now.
I do like the Krakens, but I think like these are my favorite. And it's actually by a local artist is what they were designed, and they're getting auctioned off for a charity for inclusion. And I love them.
Ooh, these are swaggy. I like these.
Did you see the numbers on the back?
It's still loading. I've only seen the front so far.
Oh.
I got that bad Wi-Fi.
You have to look at the back. And
ooh, I like these.
Oh, that's great. And just something kind of cool, right? Are those, and kind of something that's pretty cool about it is they're playing the LA Kings. And fun fact, I didn't know this until today, but the LA Kings have a young player who was raised by 2 women, like 2 moms. And so like he talked about how cool it was to be able to like be there for their Pride night. Like I was just like, my little heart just made me happy. So there is some good, you know, players are still doing the jerseys, and there's still some organizations are doing the right thing and some aren't. And some players are deciding to fall back on religion as their crutch to disagree with just making people feel included. When the sexuality and how somebody identifies is a part of their being, it's not a belief. You don't get to believe that these people don't exist. That's all that they're saying is like, hey, we want you to feel comfortable coming to a hockey arena, and for them to say, nah, I'd rather not. It goes against what I believe in, and it's just disappointing. It's disappointing that players are opting out. It's more disappointing that organizations have decided to nix Pride jerseys because they don't want. They're basically hiding the fact that some of their players are going to skip out.
Yep.
And they've come up with a whole bunch of like excuses. And granted, I do believe some of the reasoning why could be true, but it also we're not in a vacuum society. Like, things don't have to be just because of one thing. So props to the Calgary Flames for wearing the jerseys, for not backing out, and also just getting a fire jersey, in which I know they're going to be signed and auctioned off. So I'm not.
I know. When you said they were being auctioned,
especially for someone who's not a Flames fan.
When you said they were being auctioned, I'm like, oh shit.
I know. That's one thing about, like, the Florida Panthers Pride jersey was also pretty cool. And so I was like, oh, I wonder if I can go and just, like, get a jersey to support, especially being in Florida, where, like, Florida is Florida right now, and all their hate legal battles are going on. And they weren't selling them. And I'm like, teams, come on, sell these so I can support. And, like, granted, I'll probably never wear it, but it looked cool and I want to support. And, like, I was like, come on, I can't afford a signed auctioned, but I can afford a practice jersey.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But I know that getting one of the Calgary Flames Pride jerseys is not going to be happening. So that's all. That's all I had for sports. Anything else you would like to add?
Nope.
All right. So moving on, McKenna, what are you watching on TikTok nowadays? Oh gosh.
I honestly, let me see. You know what? We do this every week, and I still haven't prepared. I always say this. I do not prepare for this section. I mean, I don't prepare for any of it, but especially this section. Okay. Let me get back to my TikTok. Hang on. You can go first.
Okay, well, you're doing that. I'll go first. My favorite has to be the TikToks of it's Pedro Pascal, and he's like, I think it was from one of his late night shows, but he's like unveiling something, and they've edited in like me showing Congress what data China has. And it's always like a thirst trap. Or my favorites are the Jasper the Doll TikToks edited into that format. And I'm like, yes, because this is what China is getting on me. Book recommendations and Jasper the Doll.
Oh gosh.
That has to be my favorite right now.
I just go to like my liked TikToks, and all I see are thirst traps of the fan cast for Will and Damon for Devil Knight series. So maybe I should say that. I'm trying to think. Yeah. Yeah.
I love
that's it.
Fan edit.
That's it.
Oh, speaking of fan edit, I'm a fan editor now. I have made it in my life. The fact that Becca Mack reposted a TikTok that I posted is like,
we haven't got a chance to talk about
next fangirl level. Yes. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to start using my TikTok and my Instagram a little bit more into this niche of book talk, because I have some really funny ideas. So I made a little, just a super simple of the template of Nicolas Cage and Pedro Pascal of where they're looking at like each other of this scene and Play With Me of Jenny and Garrett coming out of the bathroom, and Becca commented and reposted it, and I was like, I have made it in life. We have made our girl crush laugh using the characters that she created. This is my peak, and this is what I was meant for.
We like Lauren.
That's all. I don't know if it can get better than this.
Life. Like Becca Mac has acknowledged you. Like honestly, like I can die happy knowing that Becca Mac acknowledged you.
Right? Like our favorite, like she has to be my favorite author, if not one of my top 3, hands down. Like I don't think we go on here without ranting and raving like every single week, but like to know that I made her laugh, I did that. And then of course like engagement went up because she reposted it, and so like everyone was like, oh, this is so good, and I'm like, thank you. Like getting more than like 3 likes on a post was it for me. So that's where I'm at in my life. We're doing solid. Just the fact that one of our favorite authors knows I exist, even if on my book account I still am that person. I've made it. So thank you, Becca, for laughing at my jokes. I'm glad you think I'm funny. I think I'm funny. So I love having that reaffirmed.
Thank you, Becca Mac, just for being you. Honestly.
Thank you, Becca Mac, for bringing joy in my life. Your books are my serotonin.
Yes.
Kisses to you. A little bit of Becca Mac, a little bit of sertraline, mix it all together, potion, serotonin.
Oh.
Gosh. I worry about myself. All right. Anyways, any other new TikTok trends?
I haven't really. I've been reading 20-hour books this week, so I haven't really been on TikTok.
I get that. So, all right. Anything else to add before we move on to our charity of the week?
No, I don't think so.
All right. You thought I ranted earlier. You ready for my rant?
So,
Ken, I want to take a guess on what charity we are doing this week, or at least what we are fighting.
I almost texted you to make sure that this was going to be our charity of the week, but I was like, you know what? She already knows. Like, I've seen her Instagram.
Oh, you know it.
And so,
yep.
I was talking to our parents about this at dinner.
My Instagram popping off.
Like, I have like it. The only thing that just keeps replaying through my head, and like, you know, I am only going to say this. And this is the only thing I can say because I'm just at a loss of words for our nation's stupidity, is that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And I feel like that's what our nation's doing. And it's heartbreaking. It's sad. When is enough going to be enough? And like, I'm just at a loss for words. And like, I just sit here and I'm just like, how can you let this happen again and again and again? You know, and sit there and think there's not an issue and that there's nothing that we can do on a nation's, state, county. There's nothing we can do as leadership for this country to help fix this. Like, I understand, like, you can't do it all, but you can do something. And the fact that we haven't is sad. And the fact that this is the leading cause for children's death is heartbreaking, heart-wrenching, and disgusting. And, you know, when this news broke, it honestly, like, now that I'm a teacher, when this news broke, I was in one of my periods and I got a notification on my watch And I just sat there and I'm looking at these 14, 15-year-old students who are full of life, full of love, innocent, have not experienced anything and have not experienced their lives yet. You know, I have future teachers, future doctors, future entertainers, all these kids, all these dreams, and just like that, their life can end, and it's heartbreaking and it's sad, and I could not imagine experiencing that. And it's sickening that we live in a nation that's saying it's okay, that this is okay, this is what we accept. That's all I gotta say.
Yep. Right there with you. So I have a lot to say. I'm just going to say here that I'm going to go on a rant and I might cry because I'm so angry. And, you know, normally we try to be lighthearted and we think that this is a funny podcast, but this is serious. If you are for or not for gun control, we are not the podcast for you. Period. Guns are the leading cause of deaths for children under 18. Gun violence is out of control. And it was a post on So Informed. I posted this on one of my stories, and I just want to reiterate, and I want to read it because this is how I feel. Of the guns are the problem. Don't let Second Amendment worshipers fool you. Gun control can and does stop gun violence. And then it says, I'm no longer willing to listen to the "it's my Second Amendment right" argument while body bags containing children are piling up in this country. Children who are in school trying to learn, in a grocery store, at a park, at the movies, at a fair. Children who are simply trying to grow up in a country that places more value on an amendment to the Constitution written in 1791 than it does the lives of our citizens. I cannot fathom how the lawmakers can sit there and look themselves in the mirror. I cannot fathom how anyone can take money from the NRA and how they don't have a guilty conscience. How do they sleep at night? How do they sleep at night having blood on their hands? Everything that has continued to come from this is on these politicians that have blocked smart gun control. I ain't saying you have to take every single gun, but just like you have to have a license, you have to pass a test to drive a car, you have to carry insurance, you have to, follow the laws. Why is it easier to get a gun than to drive a car in this country? And it is ridiculous. It is astonishing that this is the only country where this happens, developed country where this happens so frequently, but we become immune to it. You were like, oh, another shooting happened. Okay, yeah, there's been more mass shootings in America than there have been days this year. They're by far, it's not close. And not all those shootings are school shootings. However, you can't send your children to school without worrying that they're going to die by the hands or by the means of a gun. And you want to say, oh, it's mental health. It's the mental health issues. It's the guns. If they don't have the guns, they can't shoot that many people. And the fact that it is the same type of gun, it's an more times than not, when we hear about these mass shootings, it is an automatic or semi-automatic rifle that is causing this. Hey, maybe we should do something about this. Like, smart regulation. The Second Amendment mentions a well-regulated. Guns are not well-regulated in America. And so, okay, I will follow you on this. It's mental health. What are you doing for mental health? What are you doing? All these kids now have PTSD for being shot up. I don't know if you saw the picture of that little girl just crying on the bus because she was so scared. All these kids are going to have PTSD. What are we doing to help it? You can't get counseling. You can't get insurance to pay for mental health treatments. You can't get medication because there's a lack of psychiatrists because they pay shit because they care more about making money, and psychiatrists don't bring money to a hospital. It's all greed. It's greed of politicians taking NRA money and pushing forward their lobbying. It's greed of hospital systems not caring about mental health and treating mental health, and nothing's changing to do it. If you want to argue it's a mental health issue, what are you doing about the mental health crisis in America? What are you doing about the healthcare crisis in America and the fact that insurance is a scam? I mean, it basically is. As a someone who understands how insurance works and who has worked in the mental health field, of knowing, okay, you finally get a medication to work, well, now insurance won't pay for it. So you have to go to something that doesn't work. Or you can't get into a counselor because they don't take your insurance because the counselor can't live a living wage because insurances aren't paying the counselor. Or you can't get insurance, or you have to pay out of pocket even though you have insurance because they don't cover mental health care, even though it's health. So if that's going to be your argument, what are you doing to better the mental health crisis? And then on top of that, if you think it's a mental health problem, why not have to have a psych eval before you can buy a gun? Because most of the time, these mass shootings happen with a legally obtained gun. It might not be that person, but it's from a family member, or it's a legally obtained gun. It's not like they went out and got it off the street. Granted, that happens sometimes, I'm sure. Bad things happen. Bad people are there. But why are we so ignorant and selfish and so stuck in the ways that we can't take steps to better this? And I think I saw somebody post, and this was, probably 5 mass shootings ago, where it said, I knew nothing in America would change after they let those kids from Sandy Hook die, and nothing changed. But the fact that it is still happening, how many more people are going to have to die before something changes in this world? How many more, and not even this world, this country, because we seem to be the only ones that have this issue. So something's got to click of, hey, we're not doing things right. And I don't understand how they can continue to let kids die. There was a video today I saw on Twitter where they were interviewing I think it was a representative for Tennessee, some politician in Tennessee, basically said, we can't do anything to stop gun control. But yeah, you want to argue that drag queens are what's wrong with kids. I would rather send my kids to a drag queen brunch than school, because they're more likely to die at school by the hands of a gunman. Then they go on to ask, well, what do you do to keep your kids safe? To which he replied, we homeschool. So you're either paying somebody to tutor your kids to homeschool them, or you have a significant other that's homeschooling those kids. So basically, because you're an elitist prick, now you're not going to care about the other kids that die because, well, you should have been more rich to be able to afford homeschooling. Private schooling is a right. It is something that we require of our students, or of the kids in this world, but yet we can't provide a safe place for them. To which people are like, well, arm the teachers. 1, more guns is not the issue. 2, right now you can't even trust the teachers to teach, and you're going to go out and say, well, teachers can't choose the books. Teachers can't choose their curriculum, but you're going to trust them with a gun? What? No. Like, you can't trust teachers to teach your kids or tell them what books to read, then you can't trust teachers with a gun. And they're not paid enough for that shit. They're not paid enough to put their lives on the line every single day. It's not what they chose. If you go into a situation where you're going to be in battle, you are willing for that. These teachers have gone out and take a low-paying job to try to help the youth, and instead are putting their lives at risk and in this battle of trying to be, they can't be woke, which just means they can't talk about real life stuff. And now you're not going to pay them, and everyone's like, oh, it's the teacher's fault. And no, it's not. And so that's just a long about rant of how I can't wrap my head around, like, thoughts and prayers to everyone in the Nashville community. But I also demand action. I demand action that this stops. Like, I can't take it anymore. I can't keep living with this heartbreak. And it's like nothing that these citizens do, it matters. They'd rather focus on the, like, hatred laws that they're putting out versus saving the lives of children, of saving the lives of innocent people, of gun violence. And it just makes you not want to live here. You know, everyone wants to say, well, just leave. Okay, but like, I want to make this place a better place than what I currently live in. But it's so soul crushing to have to live like this and to have to see how many lives have to be affected by gun violence until people start taking it seriously. And I know that's a big rant. It's been festering. I don't know what else to do. I just feel like everything we say is on deaf ears, and which is why shouting out these charities are important, because they are fighting the battle that feels daunting, and just how many people are going to have to be injured or lose their life before somebody takes it seriously, which I've been on record, and I will say again here, if I succumb to any politically charged reason, whether that's gun violence or, we don't want to get into it now, but can't get proper health care if I ever become pregnant or anything like that way, politicize the shit out of my death. I do not care. I want you to plaster my face everywhere to get changes. And I want that on record, because I want that to be a catalyst if something were to ever happen to me. And props to some of the parents I follow, or I've seen some of the TikTok videos of one of the parents from the, I don't know how to pronounce it, the Uvalde elementary school, whose son died. And he just talks a lot about gun control and how it ripped apart his life. I mean, and how that's affected him. And I props to him for dealing with that grief and trying to make a change. So my rant is to lead into this week's charity is Everytown. So if you don't know what Everytown is, it's the largest gun violence prevention organization in America, in which they are trying to thwart the gun lobby and the money that the NRA is putting into the politicians to make the community safer. They have all kinds of different ways to get involved. They do support and education, take action, building a movement. You can donate. That is really something that is important to us, especially in the light of what happened in Nashville. Like I said, prayers to all the families affected and everyone in that community, and prayers to the families of communities and families of other gun violence survivors. PTSD is tricky and grief is hard, and I'm sure that when something like this happens, it is a trigger to them of having to see what else those families go through, and it's not a club that you want to be a part of. And so definitely prayers for pretty much anyone affected by this. It's a hard situation, but I'm not only praying and thinking about them, I want to demand action to prevent things. Let's be proactive, because we aren't reactive either. Reactive is empty words. Let's put into some actions. So that was a long rant. I had to get that off my chest. Anything else that you want to add?
Nope, you said it all. But yeah, it's not. Yeah, I don't have any words, because it's disgusting, and I'm sick. I've been sick to my stomach all day about it, and it's one of those things that, like, sitting in the classroom with these students, I know without a doubt, like, I would do anything to protect these students. But teachers shouldn't have to do that. Yeah. But it's just, I don't know. It's heartbreaking and it's sad. And I know this is a very serious way to end this podcast, but I think it's one of those things to where we need to think, and we need to understand, and we need to educate ourselves, and we need to do what we can to make a difference. And honestly, Lauren, Canada and Finland sound great right now.
I'm gonna live off McDonald's snack wraps, poutine, universal health care, and smart gun laws, and that's gonna be it.
All you need in the world. Come on, US. Let's get it.
That's all I need in the world. So, America, please get your shit together, or I'm out. Like, I always was like, oh, it's so dramatic. But then, like, after having to sit here and live through, like, not even personally affected by this, but I have to see how many families are affected by this. But then also to see the hate legislation that's going through Indiana right now of basically trying to target trans kids. You're protecting the kids, and taking away their access to proper care, of healthcare. And, it's just hard to live here. It's hard to feel pride in where you're from when this is what you're making headlines for. It's hard to sit here and just let it be, of knowing that this place that I call home, that I grew up in, is a place that's breeding ground for hatred and not accepting of others, and there's not a whole lot we can do about it. I mean, we can vote, but the amount of emails and letters that have gone unanswered from our state senators and our state representatives, and how they continue to vote against normal human decency policies, is just really disheartening. And they've come for healthcare of trans kids, which again, government shouldn't be in healthcare. Government shouldn't be in healthcare. If anybody can tell me what the proper treatment is for a trans kid, okay, then maybe I can believe you. But you're making policy changes based on information you don't know. You don't have a degree in medicine. You don't know what medicine looks like. You don't have a degree in psychology, most of you. You should not be making policy changes based on information that you don't know. And that's simple. If somebody is medically trained, then I trust them. But when your information is no more, probably worse than Google, because you probably stay on your confirmation bias websites and don't know how to read a peer-reviewed study, which shows that trans affirmative care is safe for kids and actually helpful for kids and reduces rates of depression, anxiety, and suicide. I don't trust you. I don't trust you in the decisions you make. And I truly believe that you're going to do what's best for you and not what's best for your citizens. So, sorry, that's another rant. It's just been heartbreaking to see how much hatred legislation has gone through and how that's affecting the healthcare world and the education world. Of basically, we're not going to be able to talk about, they're trying to push, they can't talk about any LGBTQ plus any topic in education, which no, again, we shouldn't be telling teachers what they can and can't teach. If they're following the curriculum, it's overbearing and just ridiculous, honestly. And just, it's frustrating. And it's hard to I guess it's hard to be proud of somewhere where this is how we're going to treat the citizens that live here. And so I would say do better, but I don't think the politicians in office care to do better. And they've shown that through any way they voted pretty much from the time they've been in office. So I'll keep trying. I'll keep trying to demand action.
I'll sign my petitions and I'll share everything.
I'll sign my petitions. I'll send my emails. I'll send my strongly worded emails, like after when they were voting on abortion rights, when I told them that Indiana is in the bottom. The unhingedness of me telling politicians that Indiana's in the bottom already of maternal morality, and how that's only going to be worse and they're going to have blood on their hands. So,
well, on that note, thank you for listening.
How many shark petitions have you signed?
The amount of legislators and the amount of just honestly like lawmakers, the amount of emails I've sent to the president about sharks is unreal. Like, I'm sure I'm on some list.
I was going to say
Florida.
Like, probably post. I said probably my like post row like emails, that like first angry ones. Like, I didn't threaten anything, but just how aggressive those were with the data that I presented probably got me on a list somewhere. I'm probably blocked. That's probably when my emails don't care. I never get a response because they blocked.
You know what? I will say, I don't know if it was the amount that I sent or if it's, I obviously was an automated thing, but the president emailed me back. It was like months, but I don't know if it's because I sent so many at a time. They're like, let me just send an automated email just to get her off our back.
Get this girl.
But yeah, I've called.
Hey, that's better than what I've gotten from any of our Indiana representatives.
I've made calls, phone calls to people. I've left voicemails about the sharks. You know what? Maybe one day, maybe during Shark Week, we'll have a shark themed podcast so that people understand how passionate and how severe the shark crisis is. I mean, I know that sounds so light compared to the topic that we're talking about, but it is serious. But still, I'll table that for another day.
Well, it's all about saving this world.
Yeah.
Yes. So just to say, it's hard to feel like you're not being heard. However, keep chugging along, because sooner or later our voices are going to have to be heard, and that's typically in the voting polls. So if you're not registered to vote, register to vote and know who you're voting for. Don't vote, or I guess I'm not going to tell you how not to vote. Please be educated about your votes and don't vote along a party line. Know what a person's beliefs are, because party lines mean nothing if they don't vote according to the party lines. Obviously, you can vote for who you want. Just be educated about it, please.
Yes.
So, and there's a lot of resources out there that will. I know when I first started voting, there was in that presidential election, because I would have been whatever year I first voted in the presidential election. They did a lot. There's all kinds of different quizzes, like reliable resources quizzes that it'll ask your opinion on topics, and it will tell you whose viewpoints you match most up with on the candidate and what points. So obviously, as it gets down to voting day, we can share some of that topics, but know that there's plenty of resources out there to get you educated as well.
Yes.
So that's all I have. I know it was heavy. However, that was heavy on our hearts, and I felt like needed to be said. So anything else to add?
No.
Yeah. So thanks for listening to this week's episode of What's the Sitch podcast. If you would like, give us a like, download, subscribe to future episodes.
Yes.
We'll see you next time on What's the Sitch podcast.